Hi, I'm Tom Ray from the band Lorenzo's Music, and we released an album of remixes of our songs called Lorenzo's Remixes Volume 2. And the album features remixes by us and by other musicians all across the world. And today I wanted to go over a remix that I did using Ardour and Ubuntu Studio for the song Melancholy Friction. The song is called Melancholy Friction For Too Long Manifesto Mix. And the reason for that is because my mix was inspired by the band Meat Beat Manifesto, specifically the song from the 99% album called All the Things You Are. And I like the beat for that album. I've always wanted to do a beat that was kind of like that. So the drums go like this. So it's kind of like a dance industrial sort of groove. I pulled up the Black Pearl kit that they have in Ubuntu Studio. So got that big kick drum, and then the hi-hat is mainly what I used for this beat. So if we look at what I programmed in the MIDI drums here, I have the semi hi-hat that I put at the top, and then some short hi-hat hits, and then the snares, and then of course the bass drums. So those are the basic sounds for it, and I got this sound by using compressor and compressing the living daylights out of it. So one of the things I like to do to get kind of a distorted sound, instead of just using distortion or trying to find some distortion pedal or plug-in to do that, I like to take a compressor and just compress it so much by pulling down all the attack, all the release, and then I pull up the makeup gain. Now if I turn the compressor off, it just sounds like the regular drum kit. So then compress it and it goes, and that's because I'm squeezing and distorting it and pushing it so much now. And it even gives it kind of some side chaining effect within itself because they're all in the same place on the same track. There's also a breakdown that happens in the song. And for that, I use the Buskman's Holiday kit again. And I used that in my previous video that I showed you. And again, I went with the bucket. And this time, I think I went for the Cajun slap right there. So if I highlight those, you'll see that that's the bucket, and then here's the slap. So now with both of those together, it goes from one beat to the other like this in the breakdown. So the only samples that I used for this song are a keyboard part and a effect that goes behind the vocals, and of course the vocals themselves. The song was actually recorded live in our studio with just drums and a piano, and it was during the live stream that we do. We wrote the song live, and I liked it so much that we just built on top of that instead of re-recording it. The thing is since it was live, it's not in time, and the recording itself is at maybe 70-ish BPM, so it was hard to remix for it. And the two samples that I did use were these. The first being a keyboard line that kind of goes behind my vocals, adds an effect to the vocal. And that repeats. And as you see here, I actually chopped that up because it's two lines, but they're not in time. So I had to find a way to get them to fit in time and then add those throughout the song. The next part is the original piano line, and the only reason I was able to use this sample is because the song starts off with it. And if you listen to the part, it has an inkling of Rob starting to play the drums. And that repeats, and I use that throughout the song. And you'll see here, each one of those hits, I had to take the whole notes that I do and chop them up so they would fit in tempo with the song. So with those together and the drums, it sounds like this. So now moving on from that, I want to get into an area where I kind of made my own sample scratches and then added some live keyboards and other instruments. Now before, when I showed you that I had this breakdown that I put after that drum beat, I wanted to add something kind of like a scratch part. And I could have gone around and found some samples to try and do that. But instead, I pulled up some software that I have that's called Mixxx. It's a free and open source DJ software thing. You can pull audio into it, and then while you can mix it together, create loops and all that kind of stuff, one other thing you can do is you can... I just kind of ran it and got my own little record scratches on there. If I actually had some digital turntables, it would have been much easier, but I did it by hand. So if we go back here, you'll see that I added this part and I chopped it up and used different parts of the sample, but it is a sample that I made myself. And I put that in there. There you go. So that was my sample. That was... If I was able to actually do real sampling, would have been much cooler. But instead, it took me like maybe, I don't know, like 15, 20 minutes to try and figure that out and then chop it up. I wish I would have had DJ tables. On top of that, I said I recorded some of my own other parts. I went over to my keyboard over there and recorded a flute part. And the flute part goes like this. And I kind of did that along with the beat. And on top of it, I have this really obnoxious orchestra hit setting on my keyboard. And I love to pull it out sometimes just because it's just so obnoxious. I wanted to incorporate that in the song just for fun, so I added this. See what I mean? It sounds like Sports Center. But instead, what I did, I put a gate on it to get rid of all that echo. So this gate is set to really only get the hit, and then the ring out doesn't really happen. And it also gave it a nice little curled up distortion, like kind of like those fireworks that kind of go, you know, that kind of implode in, and it ended up sounding like this. So by this time in the song, I had kind of arranged those parts and put the vocals into it. And I'm going to go over the vocals that I added right now. Now again, with the vocals, like I said, the song was recorded live and did not have a click or anything like that. It was during a live stream. So again, I had to chop up the vocals and make them fit into the rhythm that I had. So if I pull it up here, it goes like this. Here I am, like you said, had no plan. So that's the vocals right there, and then I also added another part over here where I have the For Too Long part. I waited far too long. And for that response vocal, I again went to try and make it sound like an AM radio sort of barely coming in sort of tune. Pulled off some of the high and low end, like extremely pulled off the high and low end, and then pulled up some of the midtones to give it that radio feel. And I also put a flanger on it to kind of make it sound like it's waving in and out. But as I was arranging the song, I realized I went this far and had yet to write a bass part for it. So down here, I wrote a MIDI bass part. And that was written using Yoshimi, which is the MIDI synthesizer that is built into Ubuntu Studio and Ardour. And I just used a simple bass sound. This bass sound I actually use a lot because it's one of the better just low end and kind of punchy sort of bass sounds that I can get. So I've been using that. So now if we listen to the bass with the rest of the song.
Here I am, like you said.
So now it really fills it out. It's got a good bass line kind of grooving with it. So I had the song all arranged, the vocals, the bass, the drums, the structure, everything was there. And it was grooving pretty good. But now I wanted to kind of add some elements to give it some kick. So you remember before when I was saying there was a part here where it had a breakdown, and then I had the call and response vocals. Well, after that call and response vocal, I added a pause in there just for dramatic effect, and I decided I wanted to add something to go with it, and it goes like this.
I waited far too long.
So that right there is another sound that I found on freesound.org, which, by the way, if you ever just want to goof around, there's all kinds of weird stuff on there. And this one was called Funny Souls and Scary Variations. And what it was is it was a 1-minute track of somebody making ghost noises. So it was a person with echo and everything going, woo! Oh! Truthfully, I wanted to download it just because it was fun to have. Now, the part that comes after this is instrumental. There are no vocals. So I created a section that I could reuse throughout the song that kind of gave it more punch. So it's 2 tracks doing the same thing, but they have different tones. So if I look at the first one in Yoshimi, it is a distorted guitar sound called Distorted Guitar 3. So that one by itself sounds like this. And it's kind of a boring sort of low tone. The second one I used was also in Yoshimi, but this one is called Trash Guitar 2. It kind of has like a weird little twang that's on it. So I put those together and added a rat pedal effect to them, and they ended up sounding like this. Now there's one more part that I needed to do. I added what's called a bing bong part, and it sounds like this. So with those parts in place, after the breakdown, it does this. So all of those progress, and then at the very end, they all kind of trail off and sort of sputter out, and that's how the song ends. And there you have it. That is my walkthrough of the song Melancholy Friction, Far Too Long Manifesto mix. And that is on our album Lorenzo's Remixes Volume 2. And I'll be doing more of these, walking through our Ardour sessions on Ubuntu Studio. Plus, I have some interviews coming up on our Lorenzo's Music podcast where I talk with some of the other artists who remixed our songs. And those will be coming out soon. So thanks for watching.